You gotta do what you love every day, something that you love. Do what makes you feel good. Laugh. Allow the children to inform you by their laughter, by their ability to forgive and keep on loving and being in the moment. And they ain't thinking about no bills. They ain't thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. Yes, these things are real. But when we can stay in this moment of what we are activating, creating right now, this becomes the reality.
Welcome to Shaping Freedom. These conversations are about how freedom is actually formed, what we inherit, what stops working, and the choices that change how we live and lead. I'm your host, Lisane Basquiat. I'm really so thrilled to introduce my next guest. There are people who inherit a name, and then there are people who are born with a calling and a purpose. Ayanna Gregory was born into a family known for courage, conviction, and public resistance. But what defines her is not her proximity to history, it's how she is choosing to metabolize it. She grew up inside the civil rights era, not as a spectator, but as a child navigating the emotional weight of activism, sacrifice, and national attention. That kind of upbringing can fracture a person, or it can forge clarity. It seems that for Ayanna, it's done the latter. She understood early that her voice would be her contribution, not as background, not as an extension, but as an instrument, her own instrument for healing. For nearly 30 years, she's used music, theater, education, and healing spaces to move people beyond outrage and into awareness, beyond division and into dignity, beyond inherited pain and into conscious and mindful transformation. Her work bridges soul, activism, and personal accountability. She doesn't perform to entertain alone. She performs to awaken. She speaks to activate responsibility and accountability. In a cultural moment that we're in today, marked by polarization, fear, fatigue, uncertainty, Ayanna stands steady in her conviction that the world is ready for love and healing and transformation. And she is living and sharing that belief in real time. And yes, she's the daughter of Dick Gregory. And today we're here for Ayanna Gregory, artist, educator, truth teller, and agent of change in her own right, with a beautiful voice. Magnificent voice. And yes, the vocals, but also the spirit of your voice. Ayanna is so powerful. This conversation that we're getting ready to create is about identity shaped by history and the power to choose who you become inside of that. So welcome to the podcast.
Ooh, wow. What an introduction. My goodness. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I am amazing. I'm amazing, Lisane. I feel activated. I feel just really fully integrated in my body. And I just sit in gratitude. I have the opportunity to, I've never had a 9 to 5. And, I wake up and I'm like, you get to create and co-create whatever you want today. And I don't take that for granted. I think it's an amazing existence to be able to do that and stand in it with clarity and comfort, even though sometimes it is uncomfortable. But I feel good. I feel amazing. And I'm even happier to be on here with you right now.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that. And I also appreciate that with so much going on all the time, different variations of the things, right? That you're choosing to lean into gratitude and what you have.
Yes.
And what you can impact and influence and how you can share.
Yes.
We need more of that.
We do. We do.
And you're a voice of leadership in that space. I did not know a lot about you and still don't. I'm going to learn along with everybody else about you. And as I was preparing for this conversation, I was like, wow, this is a lady I want to know. Like, I want to have this conversation with her. And then
Wow.
I drove up from San Diego and I was in the car for a couple of hours. And I was listening to your music and I was like, there's such resonance between who I looked up and did some research on and the voice, that came
Mm.
through the speakers in my car.
Wow. I
You
love
know,
it. Yeah.
there's integrity in that. There's authenticity in that. And I appreciate you for that.
Wow. Thank you.
So let's kind of set context for people a little bit. I'd love to know whatever it is that you'd like to share about how did your earlier environment shape your sense of self and self-worth today, and the ways that you're bringing forth what you have inside?
That's a great question. Well, I lived, like so many of us, I lived in a dichotomous world, particularly when I was younger, because on the one hand, uh, I'm a child of Dick Gregory, one of 11 children. So we were raised with a level of consciousness. We were raised traveling, seeing the movement, being in the movement, um, having at having in our sight at all time conversations and realities around freedom, around healing, around transformation, around change, around courage, and pride in that, being steeped in a great pride in that. And then on the other hand, I was raised in Plymouth, Massachusetts, a very white environment that did not include me in terms of culturally. I didn't feel that I could find myself in my social environment when I stepped outside my house in my hometown. So, there was a lot of struggling around worthiness as a young girl and teenager. And I think it was really leaning into my father's wisdom, leaning into everything that I got from my older brothers and sisters, and particularly my big sisters, who embodied all the things I wanted to be, along with my mother and my father. So I think it was like I had this opportunity to um, allow one of the existences to help me transform out of the other and recognize what was really real for me. But one of the things that I created as a response to what I was not getting in my Plymouth white environment, I created a parallel universe for myself. And in that universe, I co-created all the things that I felt like I wasn't getting in my social spaces. So I think out of that, I never lost my imagination because I was always creating in a way that was like saving my life. And so I stayed so close to it that when I got older and I began working with young people, I thought, wow, what a great thing that I never allowed to dim down. I never, when many adults feel like, oh, they have to let go of childish ways of dreaming and imagining and creating. I never did that because I was literally creating and existing in a parallel universe that I needed for my own edification, for my soul's nourishment. So I think that really informed much of what I do, what I create, and how I create it, and particularly the amount of time I spend with young people around the world. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I always think it's so ironic that as children we're told to play, to imagine, to create worlds. And we live in this world of creativity and of personal inspiration, uh, or personally driven inspiration. And then we get to this stage where all of a sudden you're told to like flip the switch, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
that's childish. Put that away and now go into adulthood, um, and grow up. And I'm putting that in air quotes for those who are listening. And I have always found that fascinating in not a great way.
Mm-hmm.
Because what a way to shut a person down.
Yeah.
What a way to pour in and cultivate creativity and owning who you are and dreaming, to then say, well, that's only for this part of your life. For the rest of your life, you're going to do the complete opposite and operate within a more rigid place. And I've always found that to be unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've lived in some spaces where, and you mentioned it before, that it was really dichotomous, where like you're in these spaces where some of the things that people are experiencing today were very real for you back then.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something in that you notice today that kind of shows up for you today? Was there something in the way that you experienced and responded to those experiences uh, that pops up for you today in your creative
Absolutely.
life or in your life at all?
Yes. Um, Love having the final say, and the power of courage, the power of fearlessness, and the power of courage even when fear is present. So I watched my father do things that people would say are impossible. I watched a magical existence, and I got to be a part of it. I watched him defy logic and survive in the midst of death threats, phone taps, multiple assassination attempts. That's the world I grew up in. And it became so normalized that it was like defanged. And so, as children, we were aware. My father, I'm sure there were some things they kept from us, but we were aware. I mean, they couldn't keep some things from us. You answer the phone and there's somebody on the other line telling you they're going to kill you, kill your father, kill your family. So there's certain things we couldn't have escaped even if we wanted to. And so my dad, he would always say, fear and God don't occupy the same space. And when I say he meant that, I mean he meant that he put everything on the line, everything, his money, our bodies, his family, his reputation, everything, and to watch my mother, pregnant, in jail, demonstrating, marching, in spaces where you may not make it home, um, and so I think to watch, really, it was, as a child, you're watching the older folks, whether they're your big brothers and sisters or your parents. And I watched him. I watched him jumping in cops' faces, not out of, oh, I'm gonna kill you, but like, you can't stop this. And what is behind me, the reason I am so powerful is I represent universal consciousness. I represent love, and love wins. And there's nothing you can do about that. He carried that in ways, I mean, and he would talk about, being in the movement and marching. They didn't have no guns, they didn't have no bombs, they were moving, they were children, they were babies, they were grandmothers, they were, people from all walks of life. They were our people, moving and walking and determined and backs bent or straight, but moving still.
That's right.
And to see he would talk about the sheriffs and the state troopers and the federal guardsmen with guns pointed right at him. And he said, we saw fear in their eyes, not ours.
Mm-hmm.
And they got all the ammunition, but they weren't walking with
That's
that
right.
universal consciousness. So you can take all your guns, your bombs, you could take it all. And they couldn't even begin to come up against this elevated existence. And that's what I saw. And that's what informs me now. So when people call me or are in my spaces and, I see it, I feel it, the frenzy, the anxiety, oh my God, what's going to happen now? This is the worst thing ever. And I said, we are finally at a time where this is the moment. I know for sure this is the time that I have been built for. I know for sure. Say whether you want to call it the worst of times or the best of times, we are certainly right on time, and we are certainly built for this moment. And so I get to pull from all of that. I'm talking about my mother talked about watching my father with 6 cops on him at a demonstration, and they were intending to take him to jail, which he knew that, but they were, doing their best to beat him so badly that he would need to be hospitalized, knowing that they wouldn't take him to the hospital even if he needed to be. And so there's 6 cops on this man beating him down, and my mother is standing with I don't know if I was even born yet, but 2 of my older siblings who were little girls at the time, watching in horror, not knowing what condition he would be in when it was all said and done. She said it just looked like almost like a scene where you just see fist and dust. You can't even figure out one person from the other. And she said when the dust settled and those 6 cops walked away, my father was untouched. And she couldn't believe her eyes. What is this? How is this possible? What is he, and so that's what I'm talking about. He understood that he was working with a level of protection that was beyond logic, that was beyond the human understanding of what we typically feed into, thinking this is going to happen, so this is going to be next. He didn't live by any of those rules. And so he was untouched. His suit was unwrinkled. How is that possible? So I lived in that kind of a reality. And so as I exist in this space right here, right now, I'm like, y'all, don't we understand that it is the unseen world that controls the seen world? Whatever it is that you believe in, whoever you pray to, whatever it is, there is a power that is working that's beyond our vision, beyond this vision. And we can't lose. Love wins, kindness wins, courage wins, moving in that. Because, the power about love is that you first give it to yourself. It's not about I'm loving my neighbor before I love me. No, I'm loving me and understanding the power that I have and what I'm connected to. That in and of itself shuts down so much other isms and osms when you have that real understanding, because then ego is gone, and then you don't have to, your will over somebody. No, it's like I am so steeped in the love of myself that I do have the capacity to see somebody else and see myself in that, and treat them with care. So I just feel like we're at a time when we are faced with the greatest opportunity that in our existence. It's an opportunity to be courageous, to stand in our truth, to stand in not okay, I believe in love except here, or I believe in God except now. No, stand in it. This is where we we going all the way. Like we get to go all the way, and that is my childhood, watching that. Even when I was scared, like, oh my God, I can't believe Dad is about to do that. Are we going to get hurt? And watching his ease, watching his fierceness, watching his love, and say, we going anyway.
Mm-hmm. You brought up a scripture that I reference often, and it's to love your neighbor as you love thyself. And we focus so much on the love your neighbor part.
Yeah.
But you got to love yourself.
Yes.
You have to learn, play in, practice, workshop love and relationship with yourself. Because until you have figured that out with the being that you're going to be in, first breath to last breath, it's so difficult, if not impossible, to truly understand how to love another person. And there are so many things happening, or there are so many ways that we're encouraged to step outside of ourselves, to look at them, to judge them, to be mad at them, to point at them. And we have to bring it in.
We have to bring it in.
Because that's what I hear you describing in your experience of watching your father and your family and being led by the model that they provided for you. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yes.
It's understanding that you are a piece of God manifested in the body of Ayanna Gregory, Dick Gregory, Lisane Basquiat, whoever else, right? And once we understand that, then we walk differently
Mm,
because we belong to something, somebody, and something,
come on.
right? And
Yes.
so I'm thinking, and one of the things I wanted to you and I to talk about um, is really helping people who are listening to understand that and what this moment provides us an opportunity for.
Mm,
It's ugly. It's disgusting in a lot of ways. There's a lot of crap going on, right?
hmm.
And it's also, like you said, you were made for this moment.
Yeah.
It's also a moment to understand truly what we're made of. There was a time when I used to parent out of stress and emotion until one day I heard my father's voice coming through mine. Using my training as a board certified neurolinguistics programming expert, I broke that cycle, and I'd love to show you how to do the same. I'm Lisane Basquiat. Join me for Your Past is Your Present. It's a virtual workshop happening on March 1st. Step into your best self by healing the legacy behind and before you. Register at shapingfreedom.com. Space is limited. Reclaim your future today. So, for those who are listening, and you've already said a lot of it, but I just want to ask you explicitly, how does a person who may be feeling kind of pulled in a lot of different directions, who maybe has never experienced this before or is totally stressed out about the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis, what can those folks do to feel a greater sense of groundedness and centeredness and self-worth?
I would say the first thing that we have to do is put the phone down,
Mm.
because oftentimes, many people are waking up to what's happening. What did I miss? And the timelines are flooded with so many things that evoke so much fear and anger. And so we didn't even have the opportunity to breathe and decide what we wanted to ground ourselves in or think about or how we wanted to start our day. So waking up, away from electronics as much as possible and just breathing and just beginning with connecting, connecting with something greater than you, connecting to the source and the force that made you, breathing and sitting in gratitude for all that is good in your life, and just gratitude around life itself, the ability to be here, to have the opportunity to breathe and to move, to have the autonomy to move our bodies, to make decisions, to decide I can make a different choice today. I can really, I know I say I have to do this and I have to do that, but really I can decide. So I think that it's really about grounding ourselves in those things and finding out what things ground us. For me, I spend a lot of time in nature. For me, I got to get my bare feet on the ground. That is a must. We were raised on 300 acres. We were also raised by a man who was a world-class runner. So for me, running helps me find my rhythm again. When I forget, when in doubt, there's certain things I do. Go to Jamaica, I run, I do things that are like, I know those are my go-tos. So finding those things that resonate for you and not feeling like, oh, this is too self-indulgent. I can't focus on this because these things are going on in the world. We must ground ourselves in those things that feel good so that we can move from from the right posture to address everything else. I remember going to, as an activist my whole life, I'm connected to many activists who are on the ground in these streets and who, in various forms, those who are in the streets, those who are in the courtrooms, those who are, bailing out our people out of jail and all kinds of things. I did a sound activation, a sound healing activation in Washington, D.C. This was maybe shortly after they brought in the federal troops into Washington, D.C. A few months ago, and everybody's like, oh my God. And all these videos were going around, watching, them interrogating people, and particularly in our Black neighborhoods, preying on our teenage boys, especially. And so there was, a lot of anger. Folks are ready. Folks are in the streets and, educating people about their rights and, just trying to help people protect themselves and look out for each other. And so I did a session with them and I said, I want you to breathe, because if we can't figure out when it's time to, if we're in, the fight or flight mode all the time, and we haven't allowed ourselves to just breathe and be steeped in a space of love, because this is nothing but love that has us here. So I sat with maybe a group of maybe 20 or so activists in Washington, D.C., from the Free DC movement, the Harriet's Wildest Dreams, and there may have been some other organizers there. And I just said, I just want to bring in acknowledgement of the creator and the ancestors. I just want us to breathe. I just want us to get grounded and have a love festival right now, because really the truth is, if we really understood the kind of power we have and what we're connected to, this idea of going up against this insurmountable, we would really recognize that what we're talking about going up against is the equivalent to, like a fly or an ant on a lion's pinky toe. And let me be clear, we are the lion. So when you really understand where you're standing, sometimes I have folks, we're gathered in a circle and we're forming a circle and we're looking down and we look at our feet and it's forming this perfect circle. And I said, imagine this circle is Earth and this is us as the caretakers. We are so big. And so coming from that understanding, now move, not from a space of desperation of, we're going to do the best we can. The best you can. We got it.
You are the best you can.
We are the best.
Yeah.
We can. And we can, and we will. And so that part of being steeped in, this is incredible. What an incredible opportunity we have to go all the way. What people are up in arms around and afraid of and devastated by, and rightfully so. This has been, for some people, a new existence, and for others, their everyday existence. Now we all get to come together and say, now do you see what folk been dealing with for centuries? And so are we angry that it's like, okay, we've dealt with wolves in sheep clothes since we can remember. And we have now folks saying what they mean, meaning what they say. This makes it easier. This allows us to be clear and to activate without okay, well, we'll wait, or it's not that. No, we're here now. We're here now. And so we get to create the most joy now, the most change, the most healing, we get to be the most activated in our medicine. And who do we get to use our medicine on first? Us. And then it moves out. And so, yes, breathe. Yes, dance. Last year, I was laughing. I can't remember what was happening. It was something, traumatic happening in the country. And at the same time, I was like, look at Black folk. We coming up with more line dances. I know that's right. And the power, people be sleeping on the power of music and dance and art and creativity, thinking this is just some recreational. It is the highest forms of technology connected to our spirituality.
That's right. Activating the ancestors. That's right.
Yes.
That's
that
right.
Part. So what we get to do, whether people understand it or not, whether we even fully understand it or not. Do what makes you feel good. Laugh. Allow the children to inform you by their laughter, by their ability to forgive and keep on loving and being in the moment. And they ain't thinking about no bills. They ain't thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. Yes, these things are real. But when we can stay in this moment of what we are activating, creating right now, this becomes the reality. So that is what I would say. You gotta do what you love every day, something that you love, and be excited about it. Feel it. Affirmations. Say the affirmations and feel it. Laugh till you out of breath, till you crying laughing. I find myself laughing all the time for no reason, and it feels so good. My mother, she has Alzheimer's, and one of the things that brings her so much joy when she's in a space where she's feeling out of it and confused, and we start playing her stories, funny stories, pranks, jokes, because we was a pranking family forever. It wasn't just my father that was funny. We was always, clowning and carrying on. And that part was so healing. And so my mother, she would forget what she was thinking about. She was just laughing, and you could see the joy, the joy. And so we got to keep doing that and allow those spaces of that groundedness to then inform if I want to watch something on my phone, if I want to, and what do I want to do? It's not about I'm just doom scrolling and, oh, we in trouble. No, we're not in trouble. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's go.
And I like that you said allow joy.
Yes.
Allow joy. Even if you're not feeling it, allow joy.
Allow joy.
Because joy has a way of pulling you in.
Yeah.
So if you can't initiate it, allow those around you to be in joy and allow yourself to be led by that.
Yes.
How do you balance, or how do you cultivate? You do a lot of intergenerational work, right? Where you're bringing your father's legacy forward, your family's legacy forward. And then there's also Ayanna, who is a storyteller and a songstress and a creative and an artist. How do you cultivate that identity for yourself?
Great question. So that has been a struggle for me over the years. I realized maybe a couple decades ago that there were aspects of myself that I wasn't allowing to be expressed because I'm Dick Gregory's daughter. I don't want to shame the family. Um, so I was allowing myself to show up in ways that were consistent with whatever his perceived image and consciousness was. So I allowed myself to be powerful, and allowed myself to show up as an educator, as an activist. Um, and, my play, Daughter of the Struggle, which is about growing up as a child of the civil and human rights movement, that represents that. So there aren't a lot of like risky things in that per se. It's a powerful piece, and it shares so many of the incredible, extraordinary stories that I experienced or my family experienced in this movement. And at the same time, I knew there was so much more, and my friends, your people who know you, they're like, you hiding,
Where are
there's
you at?
more. Then where are
That's
you at?
great. It's beautiful. You're doing great work.
That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, but
And
where are
where
you?
is Ayanna at? And
Yeah.
so it's such a great question, because that's where I am right now. I'm in a place where I probably have 3 albums inside of me. And I was like, you get to really challenge yourself to step into those spaces. You get to choose. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but you get to choose. Like, you want to express more of who you are now. And so yeah, I remember I remember one time I was teaching, and this was just a speaks to just like how compartmentalized I was in what I was showing this group and that group. And so I was teaching like at an African-centered school, Mama Ayanna. And I remember it was one weekend, I was just, hanging out with my friends, and we were at the mall and getting ready to go to the movie or something. And I had this shirt on, and like it was like a crop top. Some of my stomach was out, I think. And I heard a child say, Mama Ayanna. I was like, no, like, no, it was like I went into this freeze mode of like, they can't see me like this.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, like like that was really problematic for you. And I had to really unpack that. And so I remember there's a beautiful friend of mine. She's an ancestor now, Rissy Cat. And she's just spirit, just such a Renaissance woman. She co-created so many amazing things in Washington, D.C. For Black folk. She just did dope Black shit.
Repeat her name.
Rissy Cat.
Rissy
I'm
Cat.
trying to think. Rissy Cat. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay. I don't want to say her last name wrong. So I had a conversation with her, and she's just one of those energies that's going to push you. She's going to say, sis, what else is there? So she's like, this is the image of you. What else is there? And so she had this series called Goddess Speak, and where she would interview the artist, and then they would sing, and then they'd sing a few songs, and then they'd sit with her. It was beautiful. And it allowed us having that conversation. Yes, Rissy Cat Okaday. I can't believe I forgot her last name. Okaday. And Iyabo is her middle name, which means mother returns. So we actually, my sister Free and I created a song called Iyabo in celebration of her life and just her inspiration. But I bring her up because she challenged me, and I remember one of the songs I sang was D'Angelo's song, How Does It Feel? And it allowed me to tap into my sensual, sexual self. Never would have done that before, And so I'm at a place now where I'm excited about all of the other layers of me that get to show up, and I get to do it at my pace, But yeah, that's where I am now. I know there's a one woman show brewing in me that gets a little deeper, that, where I'm like, it's a little uncomfortable, but I think I want to share that.
That's how you know.
That's how you know.
That's where you got to go.
Yeah. So musically as well, there's some songs that I'm, writing and ready to write now that will just go deeper. That's a great question, because I'm telling you, because to be honest with you, as much of a truth teller as my father was, I also grew up lying a lot. So for instance, because, we are Dick Gregory's kids, and people, there's always a microphone in my face, or there were cameras around, and like, well, we know that your father, among other things, is this incredible, vegan health guru, vegan pioneer. So what did you eat today? Now let me find out I had just eaten some, a piece of chicken, or some Skittles. I had a salad, and
you're not telling that stuff. Yeah.
I'm not telling that stuff. And that was one of the things that I do share in the play. And the first time my father saw the play, I was like, oh God, Daddy, I hope it's all right. But it was like, that was one of the risky things I did, because it was the first time of really talking about, like, yeah, we did some sneaking, when you weren't around, which I'm sure he knew. But it led me back full circle. I was able to rebel against many of the things, food and diet, around wellness, that I had to just reclaim on my own terms and be like, I'd be damned if Daddy was right. But so, as a child, and people want to know, well, what's on your mind? You think, I got to have something deep to say. I got to tell them something other than maybe what I'm thinking right now. So that kind of developed that kind of default in me, where it was like, well, wait, before you tell the truth, think about it. You got to sanitize it. Which is ironic, because this man said everything he thought in the moment without care. So it was like, yeah, you can step into the truth.
Yeah, and I think part of that is also growing up, because I understand. Okay, I truly do. And, growing up in a family, and it's not the obvious, it's not my brother, it's my father. Like growing up in a family with people who are so powerful, right? And knowing that there's power, that ancestral lineage is in me too, right?
Yes.
And understanding and working through honoring that lineage, honoring my family, honoring my father, honoring my brother's legacy, and my father's legacy, while also figuring out what my own is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because like you said, as you were telling the story about like what was, the midriff wearing a crop top or whatever. Right. And it's like there were these rules about what you do within the Basquiat family that I grew up with that I was very clear about. And it was different from your experience, but we all have rules, that unspoken rules and explicit rules. And then stepping into adulthood. And when I was walking the path that was laid out for me, I felt perfectly confident in that because, like you said, there wasn't risk in that. Because my concern has never been what people out there. It was more about what was said within my family.
Yes.
Right. And how aligned I was with the values and the way, the culture of my family of origin. And then saying, well, I get that and that's all wonderful, but I'm somebody else. There's something else in me, and kind of being in that conflict for some portion of my life. And I too am at a place today where I'm deciding, or have decided, and now I'm living it through, what does Lisane's world look like when I lean completely into Lisane? Honoring my
Absolutely.
ancestors, because that's just how I'm made. Honoring my ancestors, honoring the legacy, honoring what they did, but also owning my own path, which is different. And it's not always easy. I think it's easier when, I'm assuming that it's easier when the strength of conviction isn't as prominent within a family.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You just made me think about something that is so powerful. Another thing that has come up for me is giving myself permission to do things differently and not be married to the way I did it before. If this is a different moment that's calling for a different thing for me. So for instance, when in May of 2020, when the world watched the video of George Floyd's murder and everything just blew up and folks was in the streets, my comrades are like, where you at? Where you at? We in the streets. And it just so happened that that weekend that everything would, I can't remember, I think it was like the end of May, I had my little nieces, so I couldn't go anywhere, and they were little, and so I'm in my apartment with them, and I'm like, I was supposed to be out in the streets, and yet it was like this. It was like the default was like you're supposed to be, but there was
Which is the key.
Exactly
That language.
And so, but I recognized that I was kind of putting it on being with my nieces, why I couldn't, but I was like, no, but you actually are being called for something else now. And it was them being there that allowed me to lean into it, because I was like, what can we do? And so we were dancing, we were praying, and they were, just moving around the space. We were lighting candles and saying prayers and calling on the Creator and the ancestors to be with humanity and to be with our people. And so when, after my nieces went home, I was like, Ayanna, what do you want to do now? Because I was feeling like this guilt, but I was like, there's something else. There's something else. And so I reached out to one of my beautiful sister friends and comrades Nene, at the time, I think she's the creator of Harriet's Wildest Dreams. But at the time, she was working, I think, as the direct action lead of Black Lives Matter DC. She's just an incredible, incredible activist and human being that galvanizes the masses to make change, not just in the streets, but as well as in the streets. And so I was like, Nene, how can you use me? Because I really wasn't led to physically march. And I wasn't afraid. I was like, you know, you're not scared. So what is it? And I was like, I want to hold space for us. And I want to help us remember the unseen world that's in control right now. And so she gave me the opportunity to set up at this church that was near what used to be Black Lives Matter Plaza. And it was a space for young Black activists. And many of these young folks had never stepped in the realm of activism, and their lives had changed overnight. They were being, tear gassed and seriously hurt with attacks from the police, and they were in jail and out of jail, and like, oh my God, like, I'm 19, I'm 18, I'm 20, and my life is different now. And so there was trauma, and there was also a determination to keep going. But they hadn't allowed themselves to cry. They hadn't allowed themselves to, they were just on go mode. And I co-created a space at that church, right? I brought my sage, and I had images of the ancestors, and just created a space of meditation, created a space where they could just talk and be soft and cry and be held. And that is what resonated for me. I said, I am here to remind you in this space of combat that there is still safety, there is love, there is God at work in you. And that is why I am here. And so that, when I started to feel that shift, I was like, I know where I'm being led, and I'm going to give myself permission to do that, even if it doesn't make logical sense based on who I have been, because I've even heard narratives, of like, one of my, comrade brothers kind of like, yeah, she's not really, I don't know if she's really in the movement like this no more, and so having to just, accept whatever the narratives are, that I get to step into what I'm called to do. And if that changes tomorrow, being able to do that too.
That's right. Defining your own path, because that's really what it is about. That's what it is. And if you're too wedded to something just because it's the thing that you did last, it takes away from the opportunity to step into whatever the new thing is that the Creator would like for you to do, or where your spirit wants you to be.
Absolutely.
We talk a lot about the legacy that we want to leave, but what about the one that we're living in right now? I'm Lisane Basquiat. I'm a board-certified NLP expert and a legacy healing strategist. I created Shaping Freedom to help our community move from autopilot to authority. Whether it's through my podcast, the Lounging with Lisane meditations, or our signature candles and journals, I provide the elite tools that you need to heal and to lead your family more effectively. Own your evolution. Visit shapingfreedom.com. That's shapingfreedom.com. You do a lot of work with young people, as you just talked about. What is the first distorted belief about themselves or about society that you help them to confront?
I help them confront the narrative that there's something missing in them, that there's something they need that they don't have, that there's something better in somebody else that doesn't exist in them. There's some other place they need to be that's not where they are. That is a narrative that I think I take on the most. And I do it with stories. And I tell my stories. And my stories, I'm still so connected to my childhood. And I think, again, it was part of buffering myself in that racist environment at Plymouth, where I created a parallel universe, and I was able to stay connected to my imagination and my just the ability to tell stories and be colorful and imaginative. I'm very, I can go to third grade right now. I can go to second grade. I can go to seventh grade and tell those stories of my becoming, and the stories of me not, loving myself, not feeling beautiful, not feeling smart, not feeling cool, pretending, feeling like, well, it's going to be way easier for me to just try to blend in than to try to share this weirdness with anybody. So I'm just going to shut my mouth about who I am and just pretend. And so telling those stories, I think is one of the quickest ways to kind of break down the walls with young people, and um, and then just sharing songs and affirmations, and um, sometimes there's something about 600 young people screaming at the top of their lungs in unison about how powerful they are. You're going to feel something. You're going to feel a resonance. You're going to feel a vibration. You're going to feel a tingling inside of you. What is that? That's something. Yeah, I can tell myself all day, I can't, I'm not enough of that. But what is this feeling? This is different.
Right. It's that activation.
That activation.
What does freedom, inner freedom, look like for you today as you're stepping
Mm.
into this new chapter of your journey?
Ooh, permission to go all the way. And for me, it is, like I shared at the beginning of this conversation, I woke up, like sometimes I'm not gonna lie, as the baby girl in my family, sometimes I'm still surprised I'm a grown up. I'm like,
I
you
think we
grow,
all
right?
are. I think we all have a little bit of
You
that.
grow,
Like,
right, right.
I'm a child in an
I'm a
adult body.
child.
Like, what is
Like,
this?
what
Where
is
am I?
this? And so there's literally like a childlike excitement, like, girl, you can literally do whatever you want today, whatever you want. And that's exciting. And the energy of that, giving myself permission to vibrate in that. Like, it doesn't even have to look like what you thought it was going to look like yesterday. What do you want to create today? So that having that, like leaning into that existence, is freedom to me, and it births so many new inspired thoughts that are like, wait, what are you gonna do that? Okay, let's rock with it. Who we gonna call? Who we about to call? So yeah, and also for me, because I have a tendency to be very undisciplined and I allow myself to just flow. I'm in this flow space, and it's like, yeah, but I see you. Don't use that to not handle your stuff.
That's the other
You know what I'm
side of it.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think part of the freedom is also stepping into a disciplined space
Hmm.
to say, these are the things you want to do right now. So have because I'm a Libra. I don't have any earth in my astrological chart. So I'm just like, ah. So having the groundedness right now, it to say, okay, you get to have some consistency in your day, as well as you can fly. You always gonna fly. But what are some things that you can do today that will allow you to enhance your crafts, your various crafts, as you continue to elevate. You can always veer from whatever script you got, whatever lyrics you got, and just be. You can do that. That's a given. So now, what can you do in the realm of discipline that will further elevate your freedom in the realm of, okay, you want to create these albums, I want to do so many different musical projects, and so you know I travel the world, but I'm like, okay, well, what else do you want to do? I want to do what I'm doing. I want to do more of it. I want to step into some other things. Like I do the Daughter of the Struggle. I want to create another one woman show that really digs in deeper. So to me, that is freedom. And also, um, in the face of fear, whenever that comes up, giving myself permission to allow it to come up and release it without judging myself. Because that's been a big thing for me, like, feeling like, well, why are you feeling that? You should be further along. It's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not playing those games with yourself no more. If the feeling comes up, you feel like it's from a lower self, that's okay. It'll come up, let it go. It's not real anyway. It's not true anyway. Just let it go. And so that is also a part of my freedom, and recognizing when those things come up that don't feel like freedom, to say, just love on it and just let it.
Because you're human and you're having all those
Yes.
experiences just like every other human, but you're willing to see it and to acknowledge it, which is what helps to get it released. What are you most excited about
Mm.
that's before you?
Um, I am really excited about um, traveling to some new places, physically and energetically and spiritually. I'm planning to go back to Ghana and Senegal in a couple months, and then I'll be going to Egypt, um, with Baba Tony Browder. Um, and I went to Egypt when I was in high school with my very white high school. It was a very different experience than what this is about to be. Um, and so I mean, I travel a lot anyway, but I'm feeling an excitement around traveling to places and spaces that either I haven't been or I have been, but I know the experience is going to be really different. I'm excited about, I recently reconnected with someone, um, from my past who is very much in alignment with where I'm at in terms of the life work that we do. So because the thing is, my I do a lot of my stuff by myself. I mean, I do, my sister Free Benjamin, I do a lot with her musically. We do sound baths, healing circles. Um, and I work with other folks, but a lot of times when I'm traveling, it's to schools, it's me. I'm working, and I'm just like, it's easier for me to do by myself and so I'm excited about um, partnership now. I'm excited about what that brings, the accountability around it, and also just the co-creation of that elevated magic of what's possible. So I'm really excited about uh, this collaboration energetic that's here for me because it's time. Like I'm as much as I've been a part of this big family, I spend most of my time alone. And so I'm excited about this life-changing shift that's happening for me right now around being in partnership and building new worlds, um, with someone else and with other collectives. So that's kind of, I don't want to say brand new, but I'm feeling it in a way that is life changing for me right now. And so I'm really, really excited about that and just taking on things that in the past were fear factors for me, that I'm like, oh, you didn't do that album because you had a conversation around this was going to be too difficult to do, da, 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 da. So you put it off. You said, okay, I'll put it off. But it's like now that you are taking on and you're taking on things that have scared you and you're stretching yourself, now you get to do everything. And so that's what's exciting for me. I can't wait to I look forward to this travel. I look forward to being in partnership and collaboration and just like what that looks like and being okay with showing up differently and just having fun. Like I just really just having fun. I was in Jamaica. I spent a lot of time in Jamaica. I was in Jamaica uh, for for the month of the good portion of January in the grill. And, I was just like floating on the water. And I was like, this is what you're creating. Because I went to do work and I didn't really do any work. I just was like, this is your work. Like just be. And so that, I look forward to more of that. And just continuing to communicate with my father as an ancestor. There's so much wisdom that I get from him on a regular basis, and so many of the ancestors that continue to move through us. So I just, I want to be on my assignment, and I'm excited about it, and I know that I'm like here for it, and so that's exciting.
How can we support you?
Hmm. Wow. Um, I feel like you already have. This conversation has been very elevating for me. um, Sharing, all of my just, in anything you can do to amplify, what it is that I do. Um, Certainly I'll be having new music soon, so whatever you can do to share that. I do this work with young people. It's very serious work, and it's serious, and it's play, and it's beautiful. So I'm always looking to connect to entities around the world and around the country with young folks, not just young folks, but to do this work wherever there are spaces and places that are in need of healing circles and sound baths and just celebrations, meditations, activations around healing and transformation. Anything that I'm pretty much most of my engagements, the majority of them have been word of mouth, and so I am just at a place now where I feel like I get to amplify that my connectedness with what it is that I do in the world, because oftentimes it's like, okay, she's doing this and somebody heard about it and they told somebody else, but my presence, online presence, I feel like gets to be stronger, and so yeah, but just any level of sharing around that. Thank you for asking.
What a blessing to have spent this time with you. I feel very elevated by the conversation as well. Um, we share some things. Um, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share with me. And I really appreciate the fact that I got to and get to have this incredible conversation you, about your journey, about your goals, what you want to express more of. So I am excited to pull up a lawn chair and see what you do and where you go. I'm so grateful to have found your music
Wow.
because you had the vibration in that car going. I drove up from San Diego. My cousin is visiting. My cousin Andrea is visiting from out of town. And so she drove up with me. And you certainly raised the vibration in that automobile for
Wow.
us. It
Wow.
was beautiful.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
and I'm looking forward to seeing what else you do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lisane. This has been uh, very powerful for me. Your energy, your spirit is absolutely incredible. Absolutely. Like I feel very energized, more energized than I was when I sat down for this conversation. Yeah, I'm happy to know you now.
Yeah. Same. All right. Well, thank you. For those of you who are listening, um, follow Ayanna Gregory. Ayanna, where can people follow you?
They can follow me on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. It's I'm Ayanna Gregory, and that's I am Ayanna Gregory, Ayanna Gregory. And on Facebook, it's if you just type in Ayanna Gregory, I'm easy to find. And my website is ayannagregory.com, and folks can go on and see some of the various things that I do. There's different pages. There's a page dedicated to Daughter the Struggle, a page dedicated to motivational speaking, a page dedicated to the music. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. You can go on YouTube and check out some things. My music is on most of the music platforms. So, and I'm working on some new things. So I'm
Yes.
excited about that.
What an incredible artist, and what incredible generosity in your willingness to share that, we all come from someplace, we all come from something, and to have the courage to be vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I have this path. I am this artist, I am this creative being, and I have things to express. And sometimes I struggle with how much of that to let out into the world. But the key there is that it's clear that you know how much you have.
Mm.
We are getting to watch it, but you truly do know how much you have, and the ability to have been blessed with the experiences that you've had, being the daughter of activists, being a Black young girl in a predominantly white neighborhood. Those experiences are yours to pour into the ways that you express your creativity through your art.
Wow.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sister.